Welcome to the Secure Your Energy Show, where we have real life conversation with real life people. I'm your host, Michael Gibson. My company is Fortress Power. The Secure Your Energy Show focus on renewable energy and solar. Today's guest we have is the illustrious Tom Honey. He is with Solar Energy International. He actually was a U.S. Navy with 30 years experience in the field of electrical and electronic technology. In 1994, he founded Honey Electric Solar to specialize in professional solar energy systems, specifically solar hot water, solar pool heating, and photovoltaic installations and services. Currently, he maintains and services existing PV systems while providing training to those who aspire to be PV professionals. He's licensed as a North Carolina electrical contractor, and then he's a NABCEP certified PV professional. So I'm going to bring Tom on, and I'm very excited, to have this little live stream chat with Mr. Honey. We're going to bring him on. Tom, thank you for being a guest.
Hello, Michael. Hello, everybody.
So let me ask this question. My first question is, first, how did you get into the armed forces? I know we're talking about solar and the energy, but when I was reading your bio and that you were in, the armed forces, what got you doing that?
Well, I really just wanted more education. I graduated high school, and my dad was a IBEW electrician up in Pennsylvania near Philadelphia, and I'd went through the electrical track vocational school in Pennsylvania, and I got a lot of education. And I was all set to go ahead and become an electrician. Go to work for the union, which I have nothing but respect for. But I felt like I needed more education. My dad, as a union electrician, he made good money, but he had 5 kids. So if I wanted more education, he basically said, you got to find another route. He wasn't going to pay for it. So I said, well, the armed forces was another possibility. So I looked at the Navy. The Navy has unbelievable programs in electronics and stuff like that. So I joined the Navy to learn electronics, and that's basically what I did. So it was pretty awesome.
So you said electronics.
Yeah.
So you went from electronics and you got into renewable energy or the solar photovoltaics. Yeah. What intrigued you about renewable energy? What led you to leave the service and then go into renewable energy? And before we do that, I want to say thank you for your service. I really do appreciate it. But back to my question, what intrigued you about renewable energy?
Well, I mean, I look at the numbers, man. I mean, I look at money, and I'm looking at this concept of renewable energy, mainly that I can produce my own energy, my own heat, or my own hot water, or my own electricity, and really just wipe out my electric bill or lower my electric bill. So it really just came down to dollars and cents mainly. I didn't necessarily come into this industry, from the clean energy standpoint. I came into it from I like to do things that economically benefit my family, and lowering electric bills and utility bills is definitely a great way to do it. So that's why I came in. I mean, it really feels good to know that it's clean energy and it's helping the planet. But I gotta be honest with you, I came into it for the sake of lowering my electric bill.
So strictly
that electric bill.
Strictly dollars and cents. I'm not
strictly
mad at
dollars
you.
And cents.
Strictly dollars and cents. Mm-hmm. So let me ask this. So I know that you are a professional trainer, or educator is a better word to use. What are some common misconceptions that people have about solar?
Well, the number one is that people think, oh, we get solar, we're going to zero out our electric bill. And that's very rare, because people use a lot of electricity when you look at, or energy, when you look at it over time. They use a lot of energy. Plus, there's a lot of variables with weather and things like that. So it's very difficult to just do 100% of your electric bill. So number one misconception is they're going to zero out their electric bill with solar. And the second misconception is that if they get backup energy, they're going to be able to back up their entire house. It is possible, but it's not always economically feasible.
Man, you hit a hot button. That's my number one hot button, is back up my whole house with solar. Yeah. What do you mean you're not going to be able to back up the whole house. If I was a homeowner saying, Tom, you're crazy. I want these solar panels. I want to back up my whole house. I don't want to have any electrical bill. How do you explain that to someone that solar is based off of so many different factors, meaning the way the sun hits your roof, meaning do you have trees, meaning your location physically, like up in the north, the sun shines differently versus in Florida or in West Coast. How do you explain that to somebody that you know we're not powering your whole house?
So first off, I want to just say right off the bat, like I said, as an instructor for Solar Energy International, we have assignments that we give students where they have to tell us like how many kilowatt hours per meter squared they're going to get over the course of a year. And I look at the numbers throughout the country, and we have students from all over the world. But I look at the numbers throughout the country, and we get plenty of sun in this country almost everywhere to utilize solar energy. So we can definitely do that. So when a customer wants to do their whole house, I mean, I have to explain to them that we're not going to do their electric range. We're not going to do their electric water heater. We're not going to be able to power that. We're not going to be able to power their electric clothes dryer, just because of the amount of energy that they consume when they're operating. So, I generally just would have to say to them, look, a lot of that, all that is connected to what's, the inverter. Okay, so the inverter, first of all, has to be able to handle those very high electrical loads. And in order to do that, you're probably going to have multiple inverters, which is going to really blow the price up. So, and then even if you were able to provide all that inverter power, then you better have a lot of energy storage so that if the power did go out, you'd be able to continue to run those loads. And then also, and then with that, you'd need a lot of PV energy, which means you'd have to have a very large PV array. So it's definitely, that's another one of the kind of misconceptions too, is that they can just go ahead and power the whole house. It's definitely a misconception.
So you mentioned three things when we talk about misconceptions with solar. One, inverter. So the
Right.
inverter is determining what you are actually capable
Right.
of putting on, the load. Then the storage is the thing that is actually pulling the
Yeah.
energy that you could use later, and then the size of the array. So
Yeah.
there's three components that you mentioned. So you got PV array, you have inverter size, and then you have energy storage. Now,
Right.
as an installer, um, why would someone really want to go with energy storage? What are some of the reasons that you see
Mhm.
to choose energy storage?
So as an installer, I ran Honey Electric Solar here in North Carolina for, since I moved to here in 1997. I actually started it in Pennsylvania. It had a different name there, and I moved it down here. But anyway, as I got into, when I first got here in 1997, okay, there was no such thing as grid direct inverters, not in the U.S. At least nothing that was, considered okay to hook to the grid. So everything was storage. Okay, so the when it comes down to that, it really just, those customers who bought that energy storage, the number one thing is, do they have a problem with the power grid? I mean, is the grid going up and down? So now today, in today's world, when I'm selling energy storage, my first question is, how dependable is your utility grid? Do you lose power very often? And if you don't, then you probably don't need storage. So then we just go into like a grid direct system. But anyway, so the number one thing is, how often do you lose storage, or do you lose energy, or do you lose electricity? And then the other thing is, some people are motivated because they just don't like the utility. That's the second most motivated reason. The second most reason that people will go ahead and go with a PV system with energy storage. So those are the two big ones. But even if they don't like the utility, generally when you get down to the dollars and cents of a battery backup system, uh, the utility wins. They're going to stay with the utility. So I
Right.
believe in this thing called shaking hands with the utility. So which means that we can produce energy. If the utility's there, we'll use the energy. We'll use the grid as a battery bank. So we'll push the energy back to the grid. It's extra, and then we'll get credit on our electric bills, net metering, or whatever your state allows. And then but if our power goes out, then we need the battery storage to just back us up. But if we don't ever lose power, we might never need energy storage.
That's I like that you said that, but let me ask this question: those beginning systems. I know right now my company we are lithium phosphate batteries.
Mhm.
Those early systems, what type of battery chemistry were they? They were flooded lead acid batteries, I'm assuming.
Yeah, flooded lead acid batteries, big ones, dirty ones, really. Ugh. Anyway, a mess. Okay, I've done so many of them. I've seen some things that you guys would not even believe out in the field.
Okay,
Anyway,
hold on, stay there, because I like that. I'm gonna take you to this question: as what type of service calls do you experience as a PV installer?
inverter shut off, power went out. That's it. Number one, power went out. So what
Power went
happened?
out.
So what happened? The battery was drained. The battery was faulty. You drained all the power out of the battery bank, and the inverter shut down because that's what they do. Okay, that's the number one thing that happens. Inverter shuts down, lights go out.
So the inverter shutting down is not necessarily something wrong with the inverter. The
Right.
inverter is shutting down is telling you something is wrong with the design of your system.
Generally, it's we've drawn too much power out of the battery.
Too
That's
much power to the battery.
90% of the time. That's what's happened. Too much power has come out of the battery, and the inverter shut down because it's protecting the inverter. It's protecting itself.
So how do you compare that technology back then to what you see in the lithium
I
today?
love the
Like
lithium. I love the
the,
lithium, man. Seriously,
why? Why?
I
Why
love
are
it
you?
because I hauled around those 120-pound L16 batteries all over the place and had to move them in and out of houses and only have like maybe 390 to 400 amp hours of storage in a battery. So when you look at the amount of storage that's available and the size, the power density and all that, the lithium is so far ahead. It's a smart technology compared to lead acid technology, whether it's sealed lead acid or vented lead acid. The lithium is way ahead as far as in the technology world. So I prefer the lithium at SEI. It's controversial, but I've told SEI and I've talked to the battery people over there, which I'm one of them, is that I'm pretty much done with lead acid, 100%. Like even if a customer comes to me and says, I'd like you to replace my AGM battery bank, I'm going to say no. I'm going to replace it with lithium, whether you like it or not. And if you don't want to do that, then you're just not going to have battery storage because of the benefits of lithium: the clean, smaller, safer. It works better because you can discharge it so much further down without hurting the battery. So you can utilize that entire battery for the most part. Where with that lead acid, you might be able to utilize 50% of it, and then you're going to destroy it. Then I'm going to have to haul it out of your house, 120 pounds per battery. Not cool. Don't like that. So
Well,
that's
you look like a fit guy. Um, it would seem
why do
like
you
that
think
would
I'm
be
fit?
well when it comes to lithium.
Yeah.
We know that there's different types of lithium chemistry,
Yeah.
but with all your ample experience, what do you think is missing in solar storage,
Yeah.
and then or how can it be improved?
So Michael, the main thing I look at as an SEI instructor, but also as an SEI, I'm an SEI professional service inspector also. So I go out and inspect usually utility scale PV systems, but we also get involved in residential scale systems too. So I've been doing this a long time. I put many, many systems in. So I have to deal with electrical inspectors all the time. If I'm not inspecting it for pro services, somebody else is inspecting it. So anyway, so I have to, if I design a system, I have to design it so it can actually pass an inspection. So anyway, so one of the things that's most important to me is whatever the product is for energy storage, I need a very nice, clean package. Everything tight. I need knockouts so I can run wires into it or conduits into it so I can transfer my wires from point A to point B. Because these systems are going to be installed in buildings or in a residence or something like that. They're generally not being installed in some special utility building that's only there for, just for that equipment, and that's it. So it's kind of under management. No, these are being installed in garages and places like this. So I need a piece of equipment that I can put on the wall or roll in on the ground, and it's got very easy access for conduits and things like that. And also I like to have disconnects that are available in the equipment. So like let's say a DC disconnect for a PV system from that battery, or battery disconnect is required by the National Electric Code. So I need it available to me. So I want to have a switch on the outside. I'd like to have that switch labeled, battery disconnect or something like that. It has to be UL listed. And then basically that's it. Once I have a product like that, I'm happy. So I am seeing the industry kind of starting to go away from the tight, clean packages. Other battery manufacturers, you're starting to see wires that are like battery cables outside of the battery. So if I have to hang that in someone's garage, that means the electrical inspector is going to come in and see a black and a red wire, big wire running on a wall or wherever, and it's going to be where somebody can get their hands on it. And that's not going to work. My inspector is going to question that. So I have a problem with that.
So you like nice and tidy, what
Tidy.
and electrically safe,
Yeah.
being the number one. Let me ask this: so what got you interested in just being an instructor and teaching? What led you to that career path? Because you started in the armed forces or the military, and you did that for the money, which I understand. Your dad was like, this is what I got to do. Then you got into solar for the money. You're a money guy, so you're a numbers guy. I
Yeah.
would have thought you would have been teaching accounting because you've been
Yeah.
so good with the numbers,
Yeah.
but you actually are instructing classes. Um, what led your heart to want to even teach?
It's still numbers. Okay. Honey Electric Solar in North Carolina, we were like one of the first solar installers that we are the first installer to actually tie to the utility grid legally and be approved by the utility. But I had to train a lot of people along the way, who worked with my company anyway. And we probably installed 500 different solar type systems, whether that was thermal or photovoltaics. Anyway, so at one point I got to the point where I'm like, well, you know what? We've done about as much damage as we can. We've installed as many systems as we can install. It's down to numbers. The way I'm going to get this out more because I still love the concept of renewable energy, and I love the fact that we're producing jobs. I mean, these are jobs that are good paying jobs. And most people in this industry will tell you when they get done installing a PV system and turn that thing on, it's a pretty good feeling, man. I mean, how many jobs are out there that when you do it and you're done and you turn it on, it feels good? You go wire a house, you turn the switches on, it's like, oh, the lights came on. Oh, okay, great. Okay, but what about a PV system, man? This thing has a long-term effect on the well-being of people. Okay, so I really felt like, by teaching, now I'm reaching lots of people, and I encourage young people and even people repurposing their lives to get in this industry, learn, get out there, spread the word. That's what we need to get this industry out there.
So, as a teacher and as a lover
Mm-hmm.
of solar, what was your thoughts about what we saw? There was a major storm that happened
Mm-hmm.
out in the middle part of our country. And
Yeah.
then there was a lot of talk and a lot of chatter saying that some of these issues that we saw out there and the reason why lights were out was due to the renewable energy space and some of the things that was installed. What would you say was part of the reason that that happened? Um,
Mm-hmm.
I know that you, as an educator, has some thoughts about that.
That's a trap question. Okay. Anyway, I believe all that came from politics, man. Came from the ones that would benefit from the lack of renewable energy. Those who would benefit, okay, they're the ones that would put that kind of information out because that was debunked. It has nothing to do with renewable energy. So, yeah,
So
I
how?
mean, I
So
see
how?
renewable energy. Like I said, I work all over the country. All the way, for pro services, I work all over the country. I see wind turbines. I don't inspect those, but I see them.
Mhm.
Huge utility scale PV systems. Okay, so all over this country. So it's not the renewables, I don't believe, that's
So
causing
it's
this
not the
problem.
renewables. So
No, no, no.
all over the country, you see different type of installations. Tell me, as an installer, what was one of the craziest
Mm.
installs you've been involved with that was like, I don't believe What, why this person's even trying this? What was one of the craziest installs you've been on?
I don't know. That's a tough one because as an installer, I wouldn't install it unless, I felt like it was, like a legitimate installation. I'm not going to sell someone something that's not going to do them any good. So, I mean, I had an installation out on an island one time. That's all I can say. Out on an island called Portsmouth Island off North Carolina. We put it in for a fish camp out there, and it ran out there for, it was, several years until it got hit by Hurricane Isabel. But it had lead acid batteries, and it probably had like 30 some batteries, something like that. So that was kind of crazy. But it did a great job for the people. So we took our crew over there on a ferry to install it, and in conjunction with NC State University. Actually, I worked with them. I was like the contractor that ran the show, but I worked with NC State University. Anyway, so it was really actually kind of I got to move it to more of it was a cool installation, but it did get hit by a hurricane, and PV was fine, but the batteries got swamped. So the lead acid batteries got swamped by the ocean, and it ruined the entire bank of batteries.
So was this like a ground mount system that you had, or was it like on top of a building with?
It was on top of buildings. So the buildings they were cabins. So people would come out there, they'd stay at the cabins and fish out there. It's really great. It's beautiful out there, very secluded. Yeah, I mean, it was a great installation. And like I said, building mounted, but then the batteries were mounted on we had the National Park Service put in this huge like platform, and we put the batteries up on the platform and, enclosed and all that. But even then, like I said, when the hurricane came in, the ocean just swamped the whole thing, and the buildings were still there. The beach was gone. The buildings were there, and the batteries were basically swamped over by the ocean and sand and all that. So that system was basically ruined, but at least the PV hung in there.
PV hung in there.
Yeah.
Now I got a personal question.
Okay.
Is there a difference between these black panels that I see versus these blue and silver panels?
Mm-hmm.
Because when I drive by a house, I love the black panels. When I see the black panels on top of the roof, they look like a thing of beauty. When I see the blue and silver, I like them. But the black, is there a difference between that, or is that just aesthetics?
So it is mainly just aesthetics, okay? So there was a push years ago for more black panels because people's perception was that looked better on a roof. Just like you, Michael, you're like, oh, that looks good, okay? So the world when I came into solar, people just wanted solar panels. They didn't really care what color they were. But once they were out there and salespeople were selling to the normal public, aesthetics became a bigger issue. So the black panel was a choice by the manufacturers. They could make a black panel, or they could make a panel with a white background. So generally, here's the thing: the black panel and the white panel, the cells inside that panel basically are exactly the same power. They put out exactly the same amount of power. It's just that when you put that black background on there, the panel heats up more. So generally, you lose some wattage in that panel. So it was just the back plane being black as compared to being white or blue or some other color, just allows for more heat. But like I said, you know what? If you put enough solar in, it doesn't really make any difference. Put as many black panels in as you want. And if that's what makes people, adopt solar and accept it, then so be it.
So you're all for, because you know what? I have a boss, right? I do have a boss, and she likes black over those blue panels. I personally don't have solar on my roof, but I can see why many people would want to go with the black panels versus the blue panels. So let me ask this question: since you're on the Secure Your Energy show with Fortress Power, what has been your experience with Fortress products? What do you think of them so far?
I like them very much. I've started working with Fortress Power years ago. I found out about Fortress Power because I kept getting emails from Fortress Power, and I work in this industry. So for a bunch of years, I just set those to the side. And then finally, I took a good look at them. And then I set up a time to come up there to Philadelphia and meet with the Fortress Power people and take a look at their product. Anyway, I liked the product. And then eventually, some of the companies I work with, to consult with, we started installing them. So So far, I've not had any problems with the Fortress Power batteries. I like, so as far as working with Fortress Power, the product has been great. Okay, I like pretty much everything they've sold has been perfect. I've not had any problems with them. I mean, you get the settings right. That's important. Another thing about Fortress Power, and this is one of the things I tell a lot of people, if I have a problem, I get on the phone and I call Fortress Power, and they hook me up with someone to talk to about settings and things like that, and we get it resolved. I mean, I don't know, other battery manufacturers, try that with Trojan or somebody else. I mean, it's not going to happen. I can get on the phone and just call up there and get solutions, and that to me is absolutely huge to me as an installer. Because we're going to be out on the site, and there's going to be issues, and I like to verify even before I leave. It is with as much experience as I have, I still verify. I tell people that I consult with, don't call the inverter manufacturer when it comes to these battery settings. Call Fortress Power. They will tell you how to set the battery up. Because in my opinion, and this is true, no, it's not even an opinion, the battery is the most expensive thing in the system. Okay, it's the most expensive device in the system, so we have to take care of the battery. So I want to know what the battery manufacturer says for taking care of the battery. And Fortress Power is there for me when I need them.
Well, thank you. Thank you for saying that. We strive to be there for our customers, and we believe that definitely service is one of the biggest things that separate companies is service. So I'm not going to just say Fortress, just in general, how you treat your customers ultimately is a reflection on your company. In our last few minutes, is there anything that you want to share with our audience?
Hmm. Well, I mean, I guess I'm going to put a plug in for Solar Energy International. Anyway,
Go
so
ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm an instructor for Solar Energy International, SEI. You can look them up, .org. And, we have battery-based courses. I'm working hard with SEI to push. We did a lot of soul searching this year to make sure that we're providing the right training for people who are getting into this industry. And we're going to be pushing more into lithium type of information for applications in the battery backup state, in the battery backup sector. So I highly recommend that, if you're an installer, you should take a look at solarenergyinternational.org and get some training, get some more training. And I'm not just I wouldn't even plug their training if I didn't think it was good. So it's very good and worth your money. Anyway,
So is
yeah.
this training? Is this training on demand training, like mean over the internet training, or is this
Yeah.
in person training? How does that work?
So right now we're 100% in person because of the COVID situation. Okay, but prior to COVID, we have online training. So we have online training, but we also have in person training. So everything that we teach online, we also teach in person, and we're going to be going back to that as soon as the COVID situation is resolved. Okay, but we teach theory, but then we also have labs. So generally what happens is a student will come out for let's say they want to learn battery-based PV. So they'll come out, they'll spend a week in a classroom, or else they'll do it online on the theory side. And then they'll come out a week after that to Solar Energy International in Paonia, Colorado, which is a beautiful place. Okay. And they can do a hands-on lab where they actually get their hands on the equipment. And SEI is constantly upgrading their equipment to today's equipment. So we're working with inverters, PV arrays, all the conductors, the batteries, all that stuff. So you actually get your hands on this equipment. It's really a great place to get your first experience. I highly recommend it.
Well, Tom, thank you for being our guest on our show. I greatly appreciate you, taking time out of your busy schedule to spend some time with us. And again, thank you.
Thank you.
To our viewing audience, thank you for watching the Secure Your Energy Show. It's been a pleasure. It's always fun to take time out and to speak with some of our guests. If you would like to be a part of the Secure Your Energy Show, you can visit us at bit.ly/Secure Your Energy Show. And again, the purpose of this show is just to take some time out to talk to people, learn about their experiences, and just bring up awareness about renewable energy space. But I'm your host, Michael Gibson, and you know what to do.